This is Lizzie from Let Zoe Spoil You.
And Sagira from Sagira Salutes You. And together we are Newbie versus Weeaboo. Sagira, Newbie.
Lizzie, a Weeaboo.
It's Newbie versus Weeaboo.
Ahoy!
Heidi, hi.
Hello! It's the end.
Oh,
It's the end of an era.
yes.
Yes, we've reached our final destination. This is our stop. It's time to get off the train that is this anime.
Yeah. So that's the most I can really respond there. It's just, there aren't very many trains in this anime, so I can't really, like...
There is a train station. They often get in and out of the train station.
Yeah.
You've seen Saniki on a train.
Okay, yeah. I just
You
don't
know
think
who-
parasites when I think trains. I think car careening off cliff for no apparent reason, but, you know.
True, yeah, we have had that. There's been no planes.
There we go. Been a boat, though.
There's been a boat. There's been a bicycle.
Must have been. Someone bound to have got on a bicycle at some point. It's Japan. They ride a lot of bicycles.
Yes. But do you know who probably at some point has ridden a bicycle? Parasyte.
Woo! Best segue ever!
No, I think the pajama one still holds up.
Doesn't wear pyjamas. Oh dear.
But yeah, so we're up to episode 24, which is called Parasitic Beast, which is quite ironic because there aren't actually any parasites in this episode. There's Migi, obviously, but other than that, there's not really.
No. It's potentially one, but all that did is eat a steak.
Well, he's in like a little cutaway, but in terms of the actual storyline, they're
Yeah.
very vacant in
Yes.
this episode. So to call this episode Parasitic Beast, obviously it means something else.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive in. We open with someone looking at a web browser, and they type in Parasite. And then there's loads of pictures. Like, how did they get all these pictures? Unless the government released them. Because if you look at the pictures that are being seen, there's like one on a table.
Yeah.
There's one just out and about doing his daily routine. You know, it's like...
Well, it's implying that the world has cottoned onto this, and actually other people were seeing more stuff but were kind of just sitting on it. But then people started blogging about it, and one person would be like, oh, they've put their weird photos of this thing up. Well, I've got a weird photo of one of those things. My particular favourite one is like the stag beetle that just has like the one stem eyeball coming out of its face rather than like, you know, the actual beetle part. And it's just like, it's a parasite beetle. I don't know why that one tickled me so much. But yeah, so people are kind of just releasing the information out there and saying, like, we all saw this. And I think the government isn't controlling it because they kind of know that it's like, this moment's over, we've moved forward. Like, people can have their conspiracy theories and everyone's going to forget about it.
It's kind of hard to forget, though.
Yeah, but the thing is people will. It'll be like, weird things happen. Then everyone, like, a few years down the line, everyone's going to go, oh, it was all fake. And then it'll just be on to the next phase of, like, weird creepypasta things.
But Shinichi's voiceover asks, what were they? Because we don't ever really find out.
No.
We don't know how they were made. We don't know who officially made them. Hirakawa might have put money into it, or it might have been his idea.
They weren't man-made.
You reckon that they were
I'm
natural?
totally 100% convinced that they were created by the Earth. The Earth, like,
Yeah.
something just created some spores, they floated down because they're so connected to the food chain, like survival of the fittest, everything we know about how nature develops. And also how things develop to protect themselves, including like microorganisms within our own cells and stuff. It's too on point for biological evolution, and it was all about protecting Mother Nature and Earth. So they were another biological species that got created, and whether or not they would survive in the food chain was going to be up to them.
It'll be really interesting to see if in the manga if it explains where they came from, or...
Yeah, see, I never read all the way to the end because then I swapped to the anime. But I'm pretty sure it's the same. I think the anime follows the manga pretty much to a letter. It's left with that, you little decide. But when you factor in all the Mother Nature metaphors and the eco, like, vibe and the its commentary on that. They were not man-made. They were created by nature as another form of defense. Same like, when plagues and things appear. It's like no one like man made a plague to wipe out humanity, but there's always that idea that plagues and things are created, and a consequence of them is a bit of a culling of humanity because there's too many of them, and because there's so many of them, like take like the Black Death and stuff, so many people living in squalor created the conditions needed for a plague that wiped out the people, and therefore there was less people living in squalor, so the plague died out. So I think Parasyte is very much like that. That's what it's about. It's about like there are too many people over-inhabiting and overtaxing the earth that because of those conditions, that parasitic, a new life form that might have taken their place along the food chain, came along just through natural selection and abilities. It kind of did its job, so they didn't need to continue so massively. And in the end, humanity still won its spot as the dominant species within the food chain. But Parasyte's learned some lessons along the way.
Shinichi tells us that we're told, although there's talk online, no public agency has issued a statement. So yeah, like you said, they're keeping it hush hush. It's like, you think what you want to think. We're not giving anything away. He says after the City Hall incidents, there's been no parasite attacks around the world. One theory is that they may have learnt their lesson, so they've all just gone, well, run away.
Yep.
Or that they are even better at blending in, to the point that they've replaced flesh with human food like Ryoko did. So, like you said, there's the parasite who's eating a steak just to show, look, they eat human food. Still meat, but it's human food now. Yes, they are becoming one with us. So people are now literally living with the parasites.
Yeah.
Cut to Shinichi's room at night, and Migi tries to wake him. It seems they are talking telepathically, it looks like, because Migi's mouth isn't moving and Shinichi's mouth isn't moving.
No.
So
it's kind of over the consciousness.
Yeah. But
subconsciousness.
Shinichi kind of tells him, like, oh, you never change. And the look on Migi's face when he just looks so sad, it's like, oh, see, he feels emotion. If not, he emotes very well.
Yeah.
He looks very sad. And Shinichi says that he's happy that Migi's still alive, which makes the next bit even sadder. So we go into Shinichi's consciousness inside his brain, the place where we all like to hang out. And we see a Migi, and he's that strange creature that we've seen him be before, the kind of bone weird thing. It's got 2 legs this time.
It's changed up from its slightly more like alien predatory kind of thing into a different kind of construct.
But Migi says he's come to say goodbye, and he's going to sleep, possibly till he dies. This would mean Shinichi will regain the use of his right hand. Now, all that went through my mind at this point was, so he'd have a Migi corpse, basically, for the rest of his life.
But it's not a corpse. Still living.
Well, no, Migi says possibly until he dies. So
yes, but he's not planning on dying, as in like for the rest of his natural lifespan. He'll be an arm.
Yeah, but if he dies before Shinichi does, then Shinichi's left with a Migi corpse.
Well, a bit of Migi corpse infused with his own DNA as well.
Is it infused? Because every time Migi disappears off his arm, he loses the entire arm. It's not like he's got like strands of arm left.
No, but when Migi's asleep, he's just giving his arm back. He's given it back to him. He's formed it into an arm shape. So even if he dies, he'll still have an arm-shaped arm that functions like arm.
But will he have control over it?
Yes.
Because Migi's dead, which means that his...
Migi will clearly reconnect the nerves and the synapses. If he can repair a pierced heart, he can reconnect some nerves and synapses and tissue to make sure arm functions.
And would he still have the tiny Migis in him as well? Because they're not connected. So would they...
No, they're probably all still floating around, which is why he still has a bit of better strength and reflexes, I think. But they will never be able to form a consciousness, really.
Well, they tried, didn't they?
They tried.
They caught the blade.
Yeah, but I think Migi would have sent out a pulse telling them all to sleep.
Shinichi doesn't understand why Migi's doing this. Migi explains that after being in Goto's body, it has changed him. He likes all this information that he has gained while being asleep, and he would like to stop all outward activity. So he just wants to bask in this new information that he's found. And
yeah, he wants to learn. and he wants to continue learning, and he wants to continue learning without any of the distractions or any other like competing like ways you take in information. So he doesn't want to take it in like visually and orally or for himself. He wants to just rest so the mind part can process all the information that is coming through Shinichi's subconscious.
Shinichi tries to convince him to change his mind by reminding him he still has a lot to learn. Migi says he's going in a different direction, one slightly different from ours. Migi wants him to think of him as nothing more than a dream, and that's why he's saying goodbye in one.
You know how you were saying you didn't want the end of, Evangelion when they were in the dream and all the people turned up and it's all in the subconsciousness, and I was sitting there going, no, that's totally not going to happen. We're not going to have a subconscious dreamscape with all the memories of the people we've met turn up. Not at all.
Well, there's a difference. This one actually has story to it rather than just being in the subconscious and everything being like metaphors and hypotheticals and lessons learned and stuff. It's just like, this one actually has a point to it. I mean, yes, Evangelion does, but they stuck that point so far into our like minds that it's like it meant nothing after a while. It's like, I get it. I understand the message that you're trying to get across. Just stop. I don't need like 40 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Shinichi thinks this is crazy after all they've been through, and Migi agrees. He's like, yeah, it is. He shows an image of Shinichi's mum, telling him that this is the image he creates when hearing about people dying. And then people who Shinichi knew start to manifest. He's like, hello, remember all these people? Migi is surprised he sees them differently to how he sees them. And I really like what the point that Migi's trying to get across here. Migi asks Shinichi to show how he sees him, as in Migi. He shows the typical Migi, the one where he's like, just a little blob with legs and he's got 2 blade arms.
One eyeball, and he's a bit like doopa doopa doopa.
And Migi's surprised that's how Shinichi sees him. And then this is a bit that I thought was interesting. Migi says, though humans are the same, if we were to switch consciousness, we'd see worlds and hear things beyond imagination. The people mold into like one big giant light. Now, I think that's really interesting because it's true that how one person sees things is different to another person, and it's sometimes beyond what we would imagine. Like,
yeah,
for example, like someone might hate the way that they look. They think that they're the ugliest thing around. They think that why would anyone bother? But there could be someone else who looks at them thinking that they're the most wonderful thing in the world. And that person will go into kind of go, why would you think that? Why would you think that I'm this wonderful, beautiful thing when I'm not? And it's like, because you don't see them through their eyes. Like, you might do all these wonderful things and not realize it. You might be like really fun to talk to and have a lot of interesting ideas, but you don't see it because you deal with it every day, whereas someone else may not come across that. So you're this new interesting thing in their life. And it's a really interesting concept.
That beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Absolutely. Or even someone who is scared of heights would never do anything that's high up, goes into the mind of someone who's a base jumper or a skydiver. And it's like, this is amazing. How is this amazing? It's scary as hell, and yet they're enjoying it with their whole being. It's, the fact that everyone... Well, that's what makes it interesting, isn't it? The fact that we're all so different and keeps the world going round, really.
Yes.
Because if we're all the same, nothing would get done.
No, there'd be no art.
No art. There'd be no inventions. There'd be no progression. We'd all just be like, what's next?
Yeah.
Or there'd be too much progression and too much art, and it's just nothing would be interesting because we'd all be the same. Migi attempts to leave, but Shinichi calls asking what he should do if another Parasyte shows up. Migi says he'll be fine, but stay off the roads.
Yeah, I like that. It's okay, but, watch out for traffic accidents.
Migi waves goodbye, which is really cute. And Shinichi asks if they will ever speak again. Migi says, maybe, as neither of them plan to die anytime soon.
Yeah.
But it is strange that he talks to his own hand.
Yeah, not a normal thing for a teenage boy to do.
No. Poor Migi keeps trying to leave, and Shinichi's just not letting him.
He's like, no, but what about... But no! It's like, oh, they're friends.
I know, Migi wanted to do like this elegant leaving of like, goodbye, Shinichi. Shinichi's like, no, wait, it's like, you're ruining it.
Yeah.
Let
Trying to
Shinichi
have a
go.
moment, a powerful moment full of, like, you know, wise words and, like, leaving you, like, feeling settled and secure. And you're just like, but no, wait.
Hold on, so many questions. Shinichi thinks this is cruel to leave so suddenly. And Migi predicts that Shinichi will forget this dream, as he always has done. Because he says, like, I've told you this before.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like, he's spent a few dreams trying to tell him, I'm going, and Shinichi forgets every single time. So, he's probably prepared him for it, but he can't remember. He adds, when Shinichi wakes, he will have a normal hand like before. And then he says, thank you for everything, Shinichi.
Aww. They friends.
They're friends. In the morning, Shinichi wakes. He's sad. He shouts at his hand, how can I forget you, you idiot?
But at least he's finally remembered a dream conversation.
Absolutely. And then we get the title, but with no music. It's just
Yeah.
a trope in all animes.
Oh, yeah. Last episode is creditless. That is part
Well,
of the
there was
anime world.
There was credits right at the start, wasn't there? While the action was going on, there was
Yeah.
credits popping up. So you kind of knew that there was going to be no intro. In town, the girls are waiting for Shinichi. He arrives and we learn that he was meeting Murano, and the others just were there. Just in passing, they thought they'd hang out with Murano. But they leave. They go, we're going, is it cinema? We're going cinema, bye.
No, art gallery.
Art gallery, oh, of course. Shinichi says how the girls are enjoying college life and he's been left behind. And then we, like, Murano looks at his scars, so we know that this has been a little bit of time since the whole Goto thing.
Yeah.
So time has moved on swiftly. We then cut to Shinichi and Murano studying in the park, and Shinichi tells us that he's spending his summer studying for his entrance exam. No parasites have been around, and he called Uda. I'm so glad that we got to see how he was doing. That was going to be one of my questions if he didn't. Was what happened to Uda? But him and Jo are okay. They're fine. They're still in their little beachy town. Shinichi decides not to tell them about Migi, because then they lose that connection in a way, don't they?
Yeah.
That similarity that they have.
Having a friend that understands what they've been through. If he tells them that Mickey's gone, they'll be like, well, now you don't get what we're going through anymore. And
Yeah, and Uda's a nice friend to have. Shinichi remembers his time with Migi, saying they weren't fighting for the Earth, but humanity. And sometimes they were fighting for him, which is kind of like when the bullies arrived and
yeah.
that kind of stuff. Because that wasn't helping anyone except Shinichi. You can never see things on the Parasyte side, not even Migi. And then he says, you can never understand someone when you judge them by your own standards. It's arrogant how humans can know how other species feel.
Yeah.
And that's true.
I did like that he made the point with this really sad dog, like, was wearing that I'm cute jumper, and the dog was clearly like, I do not want to be wearing this thing, I'm really sad. But yeah, owners are like, oh, you look cute in this, and just put their own, like, ideas of what a dog would like, and it's just like, oh,
Exactly. They like to dress up like we do. I mean, yes, I put Luna in costumes, but they're literally for pictures. I don't have her prancing around.
Yeah.
She's not enjoying it. I just want them for the Instagrams.
For the likes.
She spends a lot of her time naked. So she's not, like right now, she's completely naked, aren't you? Yeah, not even a collar. She doesn't need one. Hello. And, yeah, so I literally put something on her, take a picture and take it off. Because she doesn't mind a cape. She loves a cape. Don't you? You like being a diva, but she's not too keen on the hat. And I can understand that. Their ears get squished. But anyway, we've tangented. But yeah, but also what he's saying about you can't judge someone by your own standards, because this is where I try in life to see things from both sides if I can. Because you can't tell someone they're wrong when they think you're equally wrong, because then there's no one who's right. And I don't understand when there's sometimes it's, you know, you should convert people, not in like a religious way or in a gender sexuality kind of way. That's individuality, but ways like a way of thinking. So like if someone has a problem and they think like, no, this is the only way to do it, and you're like, well, actually look at it from this point of view, because you know, you might not be so tunnel vision with something, and then that's helping them. And also, it's a suggestion as well. And like judging someone
without knowing more about them or the life and the world they've inhabited that have led them to make the choices they make. It shouldn't be done, because as a species we're individual and we've had different journeys and different thoughts and ideas and different things that have made those ideas come to light. And it's not fair to judge someone based on our set of ideas and circumstances, because we're all different. That's what makes humanity interesting. It's what makes us difficult, because you can never truly know someone else. And a lot of people are so convinced in their own rightness that they are happy to tell people they are wrong. It's all about learning and growing rather than actually pushing perceived ideas on people. I think we need to learn to understand things more before we tell people not to do or to do something.
A huge thing like this is a good example is depression, because some people, they totally cover up their depression and you think that their life is great and happy when actually they're having a really hard time. Or someone who isn't happy all the time and you're like, cheer up, what, life's not that bad, etc. It's like you don't know what they're going, just because they've not got a big badge on them saying I have depression. Like, you know, you need to think about these things. It's more common now. Well, I don't think it's more common now. I think it's more recognised now that people have depression. And yet you shouldn't judge someone off of what you see, because you have no idea what they're going through in their personal life. Yeah. And that's anything. Like, someone could be acting really sad. You're like, oh, why are you moping around? There could have, like, something could have happened that morning, but they're just not, like, broadcasting it. You know, you really have to think about how you talk to people and how you act towards them, because you have no idea. It's
like when you used to walk around and if you'd had a bad day or something's happened, especially as a girl, you'd walk around, and I remember going to like shops and stuff, and if I was looking a bit moody, older guys always go like, cheer up, it might never happen.
Yeah.
And I remember once I was going to the comic book shop to buy comics to cheer myself up, because it was just after my dad had passed away, and I was always walking around with a bit of a face like, you know, my dad had passed away. And I just remember some guy going, cheer up, it might never happen. And me going, it did happen, my dad died. And they were just like, oh, maybe I should not have told the girl to cheer up. Like, he's like, yes, sometimes there's a reason we're wandering around looking sad, but you can't just be like, oh, that girl should be happy because, you know, it's much nicer to walk around with a happy face on. It's like, the only reason you want that is because you like the idea of seeing pretty girls with smiles walking past you. Like, don't impose your ideas of what you want out of society on other people, because you just don't know. Yeah, they had a look like a slapped ass. Like after that, it's like, oh, I wonder how you feel when the next time someone goes, cheer up, it might never happen. Yeah,
it's thinking before speaking. I've done it a few times. I can't judge. I've done it a few times where I've said something to someone and they're like, actually, I'm like, oh dear. So yeah, you learn your lesson very quickly. Moving on. In the grand scheme of things, humans don't have many friends, but other species are our neighbours and we should respect each other. And in a way, yes, well, we should, not in a way, we should respect each other. But you can think about the smallest animal and think it's irrelevant, but actually it's got a job to do. Like bees, for example. People think that, you know, bees are a nuisance and they, you know, they're poisonous. Some people can die from them. And yet, if you watch the bee movie, they are very important to our environment.
The thing is, everything in nature was created with a purpose. They don't create things and like without purposes. They all developed, but they all developed as part of the ecosystems that they are part of. I mean, I for one can't stand spiders. Like, can't stand the buggers. Horrible, horrible things. But never kill one. Never, like, you know, smoosh or anything, because I really understand that if we have less spiders, we'll get more flies. And if you get more flies, it spreads more, like, diseases, or, like, they just, you know, they come and sit on your rotted fruit, which, I mean, you shouldn't have rotted fruit anyway, but, you know, everything has a part in the food chains and in the ecosystems they're part of, and we have to respect that, even if we don't like some of those, like, parts.
We protect other species to not feel alone. We protect the earth to not become extinct. Inside the human heart is self-gratification. And yes, it is hard to do something good without being selfish.
Yeah.
It's really hard, because it's like, oh, I did all this stuff and I asked for nothing in return. Do you have a warm, fuzzy feeling inside you and you feel good? Yes. Well, that's something that you did for yourself then, isn't it? It's like, you can't win.
Yeah.
So wait, I have to be miserable that I helped all these people? I have to, like, you can't do it.
Part of human nature.
Of course it is. You want to feel happy by making other people feel happy. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But some people are like, well, you're doing it because you're selfish. It's like, I'm not being selfish. I want to help people. It's not my fault. It makes me feel good.
Yeah. I think it's always better just to admit that I do things because I want to. And I do things because I'd like to be kind, and that it makes me feel good. And actually, if I'm feeling good about myself, I'm in a better frame of mind to be more helpful and kinder to others.
In conclusion, it's a contradiction to love the earth without loving ourselves. Not really. I don't agree with that.
I think, I mean, there's obviously, this is very like mother own turn things. Like, if it's saying that, like, if you really are so wonderfully concerned about the earth and nature and all the parts that come together, you are a part of that. You cannot say I love the earth and not love you, because you are part of the ecosystem, you are part of nature, you are part of this world that you are claiming to love. A lot of people obviously have difficulties in like loving themselves, and it's hard work loving yourself. Some days I don't even like myself, but at the same time I want to say that I do love nature, and I do love that aspect of like the world. I love nature and the environment, and I think it's beautiful and wonderful out there, and I'm glad I'm part of it. And I've got to admit that, yeah, I'm part of it. So a part of me has got to appreciate the fact that I do exist.
Shinichi realizes he's talking out loud when Morello questions him. She says there's a rise in crime, and this makes Shinichi think maybe the parasites are unnoticed as they are more like humans than we think. So it's not the fact that the parasites disappeared, it's just that humans are being equally as awful now as the parasites were.
It was like that thing, I can't remember what... I think it's like Death Note, isn't it? Yes. Because a monster was out there killing people who were committing crimes, crime rates went down. So people, while the mincemeat killer was around, people were less likely to go out and about. They were just being a bit wary of like it. But obviously, like, no one's being mincemeat murdered, so they're like, oh, so it's safer to go out and about and do our things and get away with it because there's not a load of police on the streets trying to find a killer. Now we can start going back to our usual way of humanity can be just as dickish as anything else.
Murano and Shinichi walk away, but they are being watched by Uragami. So my question of what happened to Uragami is answered in this one. Very Uragami heavy episode now. In town, Shinichi spots him, and that he's kind of like, was it him? So he's not sure. But then they go down a back road, a really quiet back road, and he spots him again. He's like, definitely him. Wait here, Murano. And then he follows him down a really narrow alley between two buildings. It's like, you idiot. You see a killer and you leave your girlfriend on her own. Like, what is wrong with you?
What you should have done is you and your girlfriend should have gone back to a very public area, used a payphone and made an anonymous report saying, like, I've just spotted Uragami in this place.
But no, Shinichi being Shinichi, still got a bit of a hero complex, decides that he's going to deal with it himself. So he goes squeezing down this little alley thing, and as he gets to the end, he looks through the gap and sees Murano being taken by Uragami. Shocker. So Shinichi runs back round. Uragami now has a knife to Murano's neck, and he jumps in a lift. So Shinichi runs after them, and they go up to the roof. There's a couple on the roof, and they're disturbed by Uragami's presence, so they're like, let's go. But as they leave, the guy sees a knife, so he tries to intervene. It's like, dude, I see what you're trying to do, but now's not the time to be a hero.
But in a nice way, there's always a sense, like, especially during, like, Lost Decade and, like, the Sarin period of history in Japan, of people not stepping in to help others out because it meant that it bring attention to themselves. So actually seeing someone, like, knowing someone's in trouble and actually being, like, breaking out of that comfort zone of, like, keeping to yourself in Japan, like, going, actually, no, that girl is in trouble. I was like, oh, a nice example of humanity. Like, not a bad example, not a neutral example, a nice example. Unfortunately, he gets his throat slit, but at least it was a positive show of what... Well, no, a positive show of human action and interaction.
It's just there could have been less bodies, but now there's him, and then the girl screams, so Origami throws Murano at her and then stabs her in the face, in the neck.
Yeah.
That's 2 more deaths that could have been avoided if that guy had just gone, quickly, let's go call the police from a safe distance, you know? I mean, the guy didn't know that Origami was going to wait for Shinichi. He thought that he was going to kill her there and then, or after they left. He had no idea what was going to happen, but at the same time...
Should have sent the girlfriend on. Go call the police now.
Yes, exactly. Sent one of them away if he wanted to be a hero. But, yeah, then they're both dead, and it's sad. They didn't have to die. When Shinichi reaches them, Origami has Murano again. Shinichi tries to act casual to get closer. He's like, hey, let's talk about this. No, it's not the time. Origami is not someone to negotiate with. Origami asks, if the monster's killed to feed, what does Shinichi think Origami is? He answers for him, saying he's human nature. And then he goes into a big spiel about how he can't understand why people are so patient when we all have it in us to kill, but yet everyone judges him. And I understand that, yes, we all have it in us to kill, in terms of if we were put on the spot and we had to either to defend ourselves or to save a family member or whatever, then yes. But there's a difference between being put in a position to have to do it and the want to do it.
Yeah.
Just because you kill someone doesn't mean you wanted to do it. And sometimes you try to do everything you can to stop the situation without killing, but taking out a kneecap or something, disabling the person. But sometimes accidents happen or something's misjudged and you end up killing the person. And I understand what Origami's saying, but at the same time, I don't think it's in the way that he wants to understand
it's the fact of the matter is like Origami is not correct, but he makes a point. He makes a point that it's in human nature to be brutal and cruel, and it is right. It's like when people were left to just not be judged by others, like the population was kept more in control. But now that we've got more social consciousness and like justice and like what is right and wrong is more clearly defined and like policed and stuff, the human race is exponentially just like becoming more and more. But again, there's other factors into why there's more humans and stuff, and like just indiscriminately killing each other wasn't actually like population control. It was still in the evolution of human consciousness and what is right and wrong as a society. We're more evolved now. We know the difference. But he's stuck in that old way of like, if he wants to kill someone, it's fine because it's helping out, making sure humans just don't take over, because humans are by nature violent. And actually, I think we've evolved past that. And I think by nature we are more, well, I'd like to think human is all about learning and understanding and growing, and the fact that we've still got loads of progression to make, but that's what evolution is.
Origami says there's no need for monsters as we are already here. By nature, we were made to feed on one another. It's only because we stopped killing that we are overpopulated.
Exactly.
I mean, modern medicine has helped a lot with overpopulation.
I know.
The fact that we're all living longer has helped with overpopulation. It's not down to killing.
No.
Yeah.
It's like we're having less wars and we're not just going around going, I want that thing, I'll stab you for it, and let's hold a coup. And
I don't know, there's some conventions that you go to that can get a bit volatile sometimes. Yeah. I want that Iron Man. I want that Iron Man.
Yeah. Fight you for it. Knifey. No.
Let us duel.
It's like, exactly, we're not holding like, oh, we've got a dispute, let us duel, pistols at dawn anymore. I don't think that's like, yeah, I think it was actually like, what was helping with overpopulation is disease and illness and things like that. Back in the day, I think the Black Death probably did more than like Jack the Ripper did. If we think about like, I don't know why Victorian England is my go-to place for like the evolution of human society. I think that's just being thoroughly British and watching too many shows.
No, you're right. Something natural killed more people than one person did. I mean, he did a lot of damage, but you're right. Origami says he and Shinichi are different, and he reveals that he knows that Shinichi is part monster. He knows it wasn't in his head, so he's like, it's somewhere in your body,
Yeah.
but you've still got that monster inside of you. Origami asks Murano if Shinichi has a scar where something might have dug in, and then she starts to think about his chest scar. Now, wrong, because it didn't go in through his chest,
No.
but right, because
Yeah.
a parasite did go through his chest.
Yeah.
So, yes and no.
And technically, Migi did dig in. It's like, the little snake worm into his arm definitely burrowed in there.
But not through the chest.
Not through the chest.
Shinichi asks again for her to be let go, but Origami says he's the normal human following instinct. He's the one being true to his nature while the rest of the world looks away. He's asking Shinichi for a favour as he is halfway between human and parasite. And of course this makes Shinichi think about Ryoko, because she also said, I want you to do me this favour because you are half human, half... Again, what happened to the baby? I just realised we never heard about the baby.
The baby went into the system. We know this.
Okay. So I'm guessing they found out it was human and it's now gone off to a foster family.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go with that then. Good. The baby is fine. Shinichi says Origami is nothing compared to Goto, but also he himself isn't as strong anymore. So he will say anything as long as he lets Murano go. Origami smiles, that awful smile that he makes. So Shinichi is about to confess because he knows Origami's not going to let her go. So he's like, fine, I'll tell you. But before he does, Murano interrupts, telling him to get the police. And she tells Origami he's worse than a parasite, which is true.
Yes.
We've already established this, that humans can be worse than parasites because parasites had a directive. They had something they needed to follow, and they were doing it for food or to survive, whereas Origami is doing it because he likes it.
And if you left the parasites long enough, they would evolve and adapt. And look what happened. They evolved and adapted. Origami didn't.
Origami is impressed with her. She continues to say that she and Shinichi have been through it, that he's protected her this whole time, and though he may be different, he is human because he knows that all life is precious. And again, she tells him to go. So there's some brave girls in this.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a reason for all the female characters, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Origami taunts them, saying killing her will probably be the last fun thing he'll do. Murano tells Shinichi that she was always trying to catch up to him, but he moved so fast he was in a place she couldn't understand. She was left behind. Now she's caught up. She may have gone too far. And it's like, that's really actually a beautiful thing to say, especially the fact that you've got a knife to your throat. Origami starts to cut into her. So Shinichi sprints at them going, I can make it, I can do it. And he's really trying to push himself to get there. But Origami pushes Murano out of the way, ready to stab Shinichi. Shinichi takes the blade in his left arm, so it goes through his left arm. And with his right arm, he punches Origami in the face.
A
And
very
it's done in
satisfying
slow motion.
punch.
Oh, because it's done in slow motion. Like, you see the head move and you see, like, the look on Origami's face. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then when he hits the ground, he's properly, mangled. It's not just a bloody nose. He's been punched and broken cheekbone in there for sure. Satisfying.
He is not getting up. Unfortunately, where Origami has pushed Murano, she went over the edge of the building. And Shinichi grabs for her, he misses, and she falls. And at this point, I nearly rage quit, because I was like, why is this poor boy losing everything in his life? What?
It's heartbreaking, this moment, because I'm like, oh my god. Oh.
This poor boy. So he's kind of on the floor, giving up, crying, like, no, not another one. And then we cut to a dreamlike state, and it's like a meadow, and we see a tree. And from behind that tree, the little puppy comes out that had died earlier on, and it's happy, and it's like the tree had given it life again. And Shinichi says, an organism I met in passing and I got to know suddenly dies. Why do I get sad when that happens? So the puppy goes trotting over to Murano. And Migi's voice says, maybe humans have too much time on their hands, but also having these feelings is also their greatest merit. To live with so much room in their hearts, how wonderful is that? And it's like, oh, Migi.
I know. That's a proper teary eye moment for me. I'm just
my-
like, oh
know.
yes, our capacity for love is strong. And it's a beautiful, and the fact that a parasite saw that and goes, actually, the merit of humanity is our capacity to have emotions and to give those emotions to things we just briefly meet.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just love for your family. Like, you can have love for your friends, you can have love for a celebrity, you can have love for a pet. Like, there's so much. If you actually count how many things you love for a hobby,
Yeah.
you know, it's not just human things. It's not just things that live and breathe. You can love a hobby. You can love a place. Like, there is so, if you actually count the things that you love, it's actually quite a lot. And yeah, we are able to hold all of that in our heart. Oh, Miggy.
I know.
Who knew the emotionless parasite would be the thing that gets your heart?
I know. It's like, I'm doing all right now, Miggy. Now I'm crying because of your beautiful words.
Oh, Miggy. It's also the fact that, you know, this whole time Miggy didn't understand Shinichi, and finally in the last episode he gets it. He understands why humans act the way they do, and it's like, oh, my heart. Miggy then says, enough moping. I'm tired. You can do the holding. And you're like, what do you mean? And then we go back to the real world, and Shinichi has caught Murano. He's got her, and Shinichi realizes it was Miggy. Miggy must have come out to help, and he hoists her back onto the building. Shinichi realizes Miggy's still with him, even if he can't see him, and he wonders if Murano saw Miggy, but then he doesn't care because it's Murano, and she seems to accept Shinichi no matter what. Shinichi asks if Murano remembers the puppy, and he told her that he buried it under the tree. She says she knows because he's Shinichi and he does the right thing. There's a scream, and the dead bodies have been found. And they're like, there's 3 more over there. And Shinichi's like, what do you mean 3? And she's like, oh, they mean us. We're the bodies. And they have a little hug. And then Shinichi says, we were all born on this earth. We try to understand using tiny points of reason. We slowly accumulate. We find something to be close to until our lives someday end.
Yep.
And that's the end. But
It's
yeah,
a beautiful ending.
it's a really emotional episode. And
Yeah.
that's great for an episode that's all about lack of emotion. It's, you know, all the feels in that last one, all the love. And again, it's like such a horrific episode with Uragami and prospect that he could kill Murano and take everything away from Shinichi.
It's also the episode that I was like, this is why Murano is such like a good character. This is why Shinichi deserves someone like her. She's such a caring person. And to know that she's kind of always known what's going on with Shinichi, but accepted it and allowed him to have his journey and process it. And at the end of the day, she was like, it doesn't matter because you are who you are and I accept you. It doesn't matter about all this other stuff. And she just wants to care about him, knowing that he'll care about her in return.
It's one of the only animes that we watched so far where I'm like, that's a nice ending.
Yeah.
I accept this ending. Unlike Evangelion, where I just raged every time. It's like, I don't like that ending. Don't worry, there's a film. I don't like that ending either.
No, I like this series because it does actually wrap up. Like, the last 2 Evangelion was... And then every time I thought Madoka was ending, and we had the 3rd film. But the 3rd film just ended with more like, oh, the story's not over. They haven't got a happy ending. One of them is now the god of death. Yes, and like, you know, and it's like, no, can we just have a world where both of them are happy and together?
And Kyubey isn't being tortured for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Little Kyubey. That face, oh no, remember.
Yeah, that face haunts me. That face haunts me.
The face of a smiling creature, but you know there's so much pain behind those eyes. Like, no. But yes, this series I'm happy with. Migi was happy. Shinichi was happy. The parasites live in harmony with the humans. It is good.
And Uragami's going to get arrested and go back to prison and have a nice long jail sentence, which he deserves. Because death is too easy for characters like that. I think they need to be made to pay.
Okay, well, we don't really need it but we can do a Sagira's happy moment with Lizzie.
Yay! It's the end of term. Woohoo! I've got a week off. Woohoo! It's Halloween. Woohoo! Well, when this airs, it'll be over Halloween, and I'll be back at work. But for this moment, I am going into 7 days of no school, no kids, and all I have to do in this next week is watch horror films, finish Devil May Cry 3, do some art. Yeah, I couldn't be happier at this precise moment in time.
I was going to say, because by the time this airs, it'll be like 3 weeks later. But when this was being aired, Lizzie was very happy about half term. My happy moment is the end of this series because it put me in a good mood. I was like, oh, I like it. Oh, and now I'm dreading what's next because I know it's going to go back to doom and gloom and
I know, my taste in anime is not exactly puppies and kittens. But, you know, although saying that, banana. I love banana. But, I don't know, I like the darkness. I'm trying to remember if the one that I want to review next... I don't know, I think it's just tragic and tragicness. But, you know, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of, like, classic films that I like as a little bit of bridge before I put you back into the severe doom and gloom.
Yes, we're going to be going back to our old format of doing films, aren't we?
Yeah.
We've done 3 series, so we're going to go back to doing a couple of films and then maybe go back to series when we find one that's...
Oh, I've got
not
one.
too long.
Oh, I've got one.
I'm just waiting for Attack on Titan. I'm waiting for it because it's going to happen. It is a huge point of anime. It's something that everyone loves. Any anime fan I talk to, they talk about Attack on Titan, and it's like it's going to happen. But as long as you can hold it off for a while.
No, I don't think we're quite yet because we've got some of my biggest ones to come, and there's some work. So I'm like, we've handled the 24 episodes. I'm not going to do anything more, but there is one series that I'd like to do that's a bit longer than that. That is one of the most important things you'll ever have to see in your life. You'll probably like it. Everyone likes it. If you don't like it, you're wrong. But
Not judging.
Not judging. No, I shouldn't judge others. Not everybody likes everything. But yeah.
If you've learned anything from Parasyte.
Yeah. But we'll see. I'll see if I go into total darkness or semi-darkness, but with some happiness in it. I haven't quite worked out on my meter of anime I like where to place you.
Of some sort. Yeah. Okay. Social media.
I forgot to think about it.
Comes every episode.
I know, every episode, and I was just like too busy discussing all the things I like. My social media is skipping in on a happy puppy.
Oh, God damn it!
There's a tree and it's beautiful, and the puppy skips in, licks the screen, and then my social media appears.
That was going to be mine, except it was going to be me and you as puppies.
What's the tree going to be?
The tree's a tree.
No, it has to be a metaphor too. If we're puppies, what are we skipping out from so excitedly?
Parasyte.
Yes, the tree is just a parasite. And us as happy puppies.
So is that what you're changing it to? The tree is a parasite and the puppies are me and you, and we're skipping happily away from this experience.
Yeah. Into the loving arms of I don't know what.
The next anime, a big question mark.
Yeah, big question mark with the word anime written on it.
Right. Okay, now I have to rethink my one. Let's look at the notes. I was so ready for this one. I was like, she ain't gonna pick puppy. My social media is coming in on a Migi type creature waving goodbye. Disappearing into a beam of light. Social media.
Beautiful.
Say goodbye, Lizzie.
So from now, this is a Weeaboo saying Jane.
And from a newbie, it's